The mop hit the floor first, then came the voice. Not the quiet, gentle tone the students knew, but something else entirely. Command, authority, steel. When 17-year-old shooter Marcus Chen entered the East Wing of Lincoln High School, he expected chaos, fear, and helpless victims. What he found instead was a 58-year-old janitor who moved like smoke, thought like lightning, and responded like someone who'd done this before. Because he had. Welcome to Hidden Legends. Before we continue with this powerful story, tell me in the comments which city you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this should never be forgotten, hit that subscribe button and help us keep these legends alive. Nobody noticed Joseph Martinez. For 3 years, he had been virtually invisible in the hallways of Lincoln High School. Every morning at 6:30, he would arrive, put on his gray coveralls, and push his metal cart along the same route, East Corridor, math classrooms, cafeteria, then transition to the West Wing. An unchanging rhythm, an unbroken silence. The students called him Mr. Joe. Nobody knew his last name and nobody cared. He was just the cleaning guy, the slow-walking, head down, never talks much old man. Some of them would tease him. "Hey, Mr. Joe, floor's going to be shiny today," they'd shout while running through the corridors. He would just smile, nod, and continue with his work. But none of them had looked at his hands. If they had, they might have seen the scars, the calloused fingers, the way he held even a simple broom like it was tactical equipment. But Mr. Joe was just the janitor, as invisible as the floor he mopped every morning. Martinez's past was hidden beneath the cleaning supplies in his cart. No student, no teacher, not even the principal knew that this man had once worn a different uniform, been called by a different name. Sergeant First Class Joseph Martinez, Navy SEAL Team 6, 3 tours in Afghanistan, 2 in Iraq. Medal of Honor recipient, 47 successful rescue operations, 12 years serving in his country's most dangerous missions. So why was he here now? Why had he left his military career to become a high school janitor? The answer was hidden in the faded tattoo on his arm. Below the ST6 emblem, written in small letters, was a date. Kandahar 2019. That date marked the day that changed his life. A school bombing, 73 children dead. And for the first time, Martinez had failed to complete a mission. He had arrived too late. After retiring, he dedicated the rest of his life to protecting children, not on battlefields, but in everyday life. Quietly, as an invisible shield, every student at Lincoln High had a protector they didn't know about. Mr. Joe wasn't just cleaning floors. He was scanning the school for security vulnerabilities, monitoring potential threats, mentally rehearsing emergency scenarios. That Tuesday morning was like any other. As Martinez pushed his cart through the East Corridor, students were making noise during their break. Sarah Henderson was complaining about the math test. Tommy Rodriguez was discussing the basketball game. Ashley Kim's phone was ringing. Normal sounds, normal life. At 9:45, Marcus Chen entered through the school's front entrance. Chen wasn't a stranger to the school. He had graduated last year, then spiraled down a dark path. Radicalized in online forums, poisoned in hate groups, he had built revenge fantasies. This morning he had come to his old school with a gun and ammunition in his backpack and a plan in his head. Security guard Margaret Williams recognized Chen. "Marcus, long time no see, son, how are you?" she said with a smile. The answer was a bullet that hit her chest. As Margaret collapsed, Chen began advancing toward the main corridor. The first gunshot triggered alarms in Martinez's mind. His ear, trained by years of experience, instantly identified the type of sound, its direction, and distance. Glock 19, main corridor, approximately 200 meters away. Not a single shot. More would follow. He dropped his mop. In that moment, Mr. Joe died, and Sergeant Martinez came back to life. "Everyone down," he shouted with his voice. That voice was one the students had never heard. Command voice, war voice, now. Sarah Henderson had never known that Mr. Joe could shout like that. Tommy Rodriguez couldn't have imagined that the old man's voice could be so powerful. But neither had the chance to question it as they hit the floor, because that voice wasn't the kind you argued with. Martinez pulled a spray bottle from his cart. It didn't contain detergent. It contained pepper spray. The small radio he pulled from his pocket wasn't standard equipment either. It was a special frequency device he'd gotten from old connections. Control. This is Guardian. Active shooter situation at Lincoln High. East Wing compromised. Multiple students in danger. I'm moving to engage. The response came immediately. Guardian, this is Control. Police response en route. ETA 8 minutes. Hold position and wait for backup. Negative Control. Can't wait. Kids are dying. Martinez turned off the radio. 8 minutes was too long. Chen could kill 30 students in that corridor in 8 minutes. Then came the second gunshot, and the screaming began. Martinez carefully peered around the corner of the corridor. Chen was standing in the middle of the main hallway, Margaret's lifeless body behind him, gun in hand, madness in his eyes. Students were fleeing in panic, but Chen was methodical. He was selecting targets, taking aim, firing. Tactical analysis began in Martinez's mind. Distance, 47 meters. Target position, open area, unprotected. Civilian casualty risk, high. Many students in corridor. Approach route, east stairs, then flanking maneuver. Surprise factor, available. Target hasn't noticed Martinez. But Martinez had no weapon. Only pepper spray, 30 years of combat experience, and a heart that feared nothing more than failing these kids. Moment of hesitation, 0.3 seconds. Decision moment, now. Martinez glided into the corridor using the silent movement technique he'd perfected over the years. No footsteps, perfect breath control, body posture in hunter mode. He approached Chen from behind, 30 meters, 20 meters, 15 meters. Chen turned around. The two men locked eyes. Chen was surprised to see the old janitor. He didn't expect danger from this man. Martinez, however, had seen that darkness in Chen's eyes before. In Kandahar, in Fallujah, in the eyes of enemy soldiers standing at death's door. "Hey, who are you?" Chen shouted, pointing his gun at Martinez. "My name is Joe Martinez," he said quietly, "and I won't let you hurt these children." Chen laughed. "You, an old janitor, is going to stop me?" "Yes," Martinez said, "I am." At that moment, Chen pulled the trigger, but Martinez was already in motion. Years of experience, a body accustomed to being under fire, millisecond calculations. He rolled left, threw the pepper spray, and hit Chen directly in the eyes. Chen screamed and staggered backward, his eyes beginning to burn, but the gun was still in his hand and he began firing blindly. Bullets hit the ceiling, walls, windows. Martinez didn't miss his opening. He dove toward Chen. Despite being 47 years old, his body moved like a 25-year-old seal. He grabbed Chen's wrists, pointed the gun upward, and drove his left knee into Chen's stomach. Chen's breath was cut off. The gun flew from his hand, launched toward the ceiling. Martinez caught it, removed the magazine, ejected the chambered round, and threw the weapon to the far end of the corridor. Then he pulled Chen to the ground and got behind him, locking his arms. "It's over," he said calmly. "Stop resisting." Chen was still struggling, but Martinez's grip was solid as steel. The prisoner restraint techniques he'd learned in SEAL Team 6 training had kicked in. Police sirens began to be heard. They had arrived in 6 minutes instead of 8. Martinez pulled out his radio. "Control, this is Guardian. Threat neutralized. Suspect in custody. Building secure." "Copy, Guardian. Outstanding work." When the police teams burst in, the scene they found was surprising. The old janitor was restraining the attacker on the ground, while students in the corridor had gathered at a safe distance. None of them had been injured. Margaret Williams was being taken to the hospital by ambulance, but she would survive. SWAT team leader Sergeant Mike Foster approached Martinez. "Sir, I'm Sergeant Foster. Thank you for controlling the situation, but who are you?" Martinez stood up, cleaned his hands, and assumed his old posture. Back straight, shoulders squared, eyes determined. "Sergeant First Class Joseph Martinez, Navy SEAL Team 6, retired." Foster's mouth fell open. "You're a SEAL?" "I was. Now I'm the janitor here." What happened at Lincoln High School that day wasn't just stopping an attack. It was the rebirth of a legend. Students, teachers, police, media. Everyone was asking the same question. Who was this man really? Foster wrote in his report to headquarters that evening, "Today I met a hero." But he never tried to be a hero. He was just doing his job. The next day, Martinez came to work as usual. Same gray coveralls, same cart, same route. But nothing was the same anymore. Students looked at him with different eyes. They called him Mr. Martinez, not Mr. Joe. There was respect in their voices. Sarah Henderson approached him. "Mr. Martinez," she said hesitantly. Yesterday you saved us." Martinez paused, looked at her. There were tears in his eyes, but he was smiling. "No, Sarah," he said quietly. "You were already safe. I just wanted to make sure." Tommy Rodriguez was curious. "Were you really a SEAL?" "I was, a long time ago." "Why did you quit?" Martinez thought for a while. Then he answered, "Because war never ends, Tommy. It just changes location, and sometimes the most important battle is fought in the most ordinary places." Ashley Kim asked, "Why didn't you tell us?" "Because there was no need to tell. As long as you're safe, it doesn't matter who I am." That lunchtime, local news channels began broadcasting Martinez's story. Headlines read, "Secret Hero, SEAL Team, 6 veteran school janitor stops attack." But Martinez gave no interviews, appeared on no cameras. In the evening, school principal Patricia Wells called him to her office. "Joe," she said, "I want to know, why do you work here? I mean, with your background." Martinez looked out the window. Students were going home, safe, protected, walking toward their futures. "Mrs. Wells," he said, "I couldn't protect a school in Kandahar. 73 children died that day. I see them in my dreams every night. But here, I can protect 1,200 children every day. This is my second chance." Wells's eyes filled with tears. "Joe, you're a real hero." "No," Martinez said, shaking his head. "Heroes die. I'm just someone who survived. And every day I survive, I'm obligated to protect them." A week passed. Lincoln High returned to normal. Security measures were increased, psychological support was provided, life went on. But the perspective on Martinez never returned to what it was. Now, when he cleaned the corridors, students greeted him. Teachers bowed their heads with respect. Parents recognized him and thanked him. But Martinez acted as if nothing had changed. Same humility, same silence, same determination. One day, Tommy Rodriguez asked him, "Mr. Martinez, weren't you scared when that man pulled the gun?" Martinez paused. "I didn't feel fear, Tommy, because I didn't have time to be afraid. I just did what needed to be done. Peace, because you're safe." That evening when Martinez returned home, there was news on television, a statement from the Pentagon. "We proudly acknowledge Sergeant First Class Joseph Martinez's heroic display in civilian life. He exemplifies someone who lives SEAL values everywhere." Martinez turned off the television. He had received medals of honor, heard praise, but none had felt as meaningful as that day, because for the first time, it was coming from the people he had actually protected. The next morning on his way to work, he was met with a small sign at the school entrance. The students had hung it. "Thank you, Mr. Martinez, our silent guardian." Martinez smiled. He didn't take down the sign, because maybe they needed to see this. Maybe the world needed to remember what real heroes looked like. He took his mop, pushed his cart, and got to work, because the corridors of Lincoln High School needed to be cleaned, and Joseph Martinez, as always, was just doing his job. Some heroes fly with capes, some fight in uniforms, but the best ones protect in gray coveralls, wait silently, and act when necessary, because real power is the power to remain hidden. Joseph Martinez never wanted to be famous, never tried to collect medals, never tried to prove to anyone what he had done. He just came to work every morning, went home every evening, and in between protected 1,200 children. And that was enough. Now I ask you, have you ever encountered someone like Joseph Martinez? Someone who serves silently, expects no praise, just does what's right? Write their name in the comments, share their story. Because here at Hidden Legends, we believe the most powerful stories don't shout, they wait. If this story moved you, subscribe, share, and help us keep these voices alive. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, if you see a quiet man pushing a mop in the corridors, look twice, because he might just be cleaning the floor, or he might be protecting your life.